Paris, June 2003. The world's most recognizable aircraft takes off from Charles de Gaulle Airport for what nobody realizes will quietly be the beginning of its funeral. The Boeing 747, the queen of the skies. The plane that literally redefined what flying meant for an entire generation of human beings. And somewhere, in a design office in Toulouse, France, a group of Airbus engineers are watching it happen, smiling. Because they already knew something the rest of the world didn't. The 747 wasn't just a plane, it was a monument. First flight in 1969, 2.5 times larger than anything that had ever flown commercially before. Boeing essentially gambled the entire company on this thing and won so spectacularly it became the symbol of American aviation dominance for 3 straight decades. Airlines loved it, passengers loved it. Governments bought it as Air Force One. The 747 was untouchable. So how does a plane that dominant just die? Here's where it gets complicated. In 2000, Airbus announced the A380, 4 engines, double-deck. Room for 850 passengers in a full economy configuration. It was essentially Airbus saying, "Hold our croissant," and going bigger than the 747 in every single dimension. The aviation world lost its mind. Airlines lined up. Singapore Airlines, Emirates, Qantas, Air France. The order books filled fast, and Boeing started sweating. But here's what makes no sense. Airbus didn't just build a bigger plane. They built a trap. Airbus designed the A380 around a very specific theory of how aviation would grow. The hub-and-spoke model. You fly enormous planes between massive airports, London Heathrow, Dubai, Singapore Changi, and then passengers connect onward. Pack as many people as possible into one giant flying bus, land it at a hub, scatter them everywhere. It sounds logical. It's the aviation equivalent of a Costco run. Why make multiple trips when you can carry everything at once? The problem? Passengers hate connecting flights. Travelers in 2005 were already starting to demand direct routes. Not London to Dubai to wherever. Just London to wherever. Non-stop. Done. Boeing saw this. Airbus didn't flinch. And that difference in reading the future was going to cost someone enormously. Now, if you think building a plane that carries 500 to 850 people is complicated, try landing it somewhere. The A380 required airports to completely rebuild their infrastructure, wider gates, reinforced runways, upgraded jet bridges, expanded terminals. Heathrow spent hundreds of millions. Many airports around the world simply looked at the bill and said absolutely not. So while Airbus was proudly delivering the most advanced commercial aircraft ever built, the actual number of airports that could handle it was embarrassingly small. You'd built the world's greatest limousine, but forgot that most cities don't have a driveway wide enough for it. And here's where it gets devastating. While Airbus was celebrating A380 deliveries and patting itself on the back, Boeing quietly walked into the room with the 787 Dreamliner. Smaller, twin-engine, wildly fuel-efficient, and capable of flying long-haul routes that previously required a giant hub connection. Suddenly, airlines didn't need to herd 600 people into one metal tube and pray the hub worked. They could fly 250 people directly from secondary cities to secondary cities profitably. Manchester to Houston, Perth to London. Routes that were economically impossible before the 787 made them routine. The A380 hadn't just lost a market. It had made the wrong bet on which market would even exist. If you're finding this as wild as I did when I first looked into it, hit subscribe. Because we go deep on exactly this kind of story every single week. Airbus delivered 251 A380s total. That's it. The program was officially ended in 2021. Boeing delivered over 1,500 747s across its lifetime and only stopped because the freighter market finally dried up, not the passenger one. Emirates, basically the A380's most loyal customer, the airline that kept the program alive almost single-handedly, has already started retiring them. Think about that. The airline that loved this plane more than anyone, the airline that built its entire brand identity around the double-decker experience, is parking them. Meanwhile, the 787 Dreamliner has over 1,000 deliveries. Orders keep coming. The strategy Boeing pivoted to, the one Airbus dismissed as thinking too small, turned out to be the entire future of long-haul aviation. And look, the A380 is genuinely spectacular to fly. Emirates first class on an A380 is not an airport experience. It's a lifestyle event. The plane itself is a masterpiece of engineering. Quieter than you'd expect, smoother than it has any right to be at that size. But masterpiece engineering and smart market strategy are two completely different things. And Airbus confused one for the other. The Boeing 747 wasn't killed by a better plane. It was killed by a smarter idea about where aviation was actually going. And Airbus, in trying to build the ultimate weapon to finally dethrone the Queen of the Skies, ended up building the world's most beautiful white elephant instead. The lesson? In any industry, the company that reads the future correctly wins. Not the one that builds the most impressive monument to the present. The 747 died. But Boeing's strategy? That's still very much alive.